Welcome back to our 4th edition of Crash Talk Sports. I am here with
Jayden Foster,
Stephen Pagano,
Thomas Larson, and let's honestly just jump right into it because we got a lot to cover today and not a lot of time. So, first off, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't been able to go to a lot of sports games recently. We did have our volleyball game, which unfortunately we lost, but honestly, a pretty good show from girls volleyball team lately. We're not doing great, honestly. If you guys haven't really been looking at that, we haven't been doing great, but we can clearly see some really good players on there. So I think that it could be fun to watch some of them develop. But I think that it's really important that we go ahead and talk about the rematch against Casa Roble.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone want to touch on that before I get into it? Because once I start talking, I don't stop.
The top performers in that game was Connor Flaherty. He had 230 passing yards, 3 touchdowns with a 77 completion percentage. He was very accurate. I wasn't there, so I don't know how many of them were deep, how many of them were just quick throws, but still a good performance. Isaiah Rodriguez had 145 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. And he had a huge 56-yard grab. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Braeden Ward had 69 rushing yards and a touchdown. Chase, excuse me if I butchered the last name.
Chase Wyhlidko, defensively had 2 interceptions.
And Bridges moves to 4-0 on the season, earned a nice break as they have their bye week and have extra time to prepare for their next opponent in River Valley, who they will play at home.
Now, I do want to touch on some of those players, what we thought of them before they actually started playing. Everybody kind of expected Isaiah Rodriguez today to be kind of like the best skill player we have on that team. Mm-hmm. And honestly, he's been a little quieter than we thought he would be, but he's still playing pretty dang good. But it's really been the Braeden Ward show all year. Nationally ranked. I don't know if we've talked about that. As of last week, I'm not certain what it is now, but he was number 22 in the entire nation for rushing yards.
It's a big achievement for someone that didn't even start last year on varsity.
For sure. And you know what? He had a great mentor. I mean, look at the position last year, Crawford. He had a really good person ahead of him. So you know what? Now they have a really good player that came out of him. I think that really was a mentorship, honestly. When you're competing with someone that's of that skill level, you'll naturally grow better and better, try to, mash them up. Mm-hmm. And I think Ward is a really good show of that. Zay, like I said, great player, expected to be the best. I don't know if I would say he is with, the whole Ward show going on, but he's still a really good athlete. 51-7 was the final score of that game. We dominated, and this was a rematch of last year's league championship game.
Yeah.
And it's
heartbreaker.
Really, absolutely. And I was actually sitting in class today, and I had some of the football players behind me saying, "How in the world did we lose to that team last year? We killed them this year." I think it's a combination of, honestly, our team is really underrated this year. We were expected by a lot of people that we would barely scrape the 500.
Yeah.
And now it's looking like we could potentially even go nearly undefeated, if not undefeated. Our opponents coming up would be Roseville and, some other really good teams. I guess we'll see.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't a lot of Casa Roble starters seniors?
Yeah.
So they're off.
More so a senior.
And it's the new. I hate to say new generation, but that's pretty much what it is.
New class.
Juniors moving up to the seniors. So I'm guessing they're not nearly as good as the last batch of players. So that's probably why they were able to pull off the I don't even know if I would call it an upset, but they plundered them.
Some background on that game. I was able to talk with Coach Fowler not too long ago, and we might be able to get him on the show pretty soon, but I was talking to him about this game, and he said, you know what, they're 1-3 now after our game against them. But I wouldn't say that they're, a cupcake team, because sure, they have a win and then 3 losses. Those 3 losses have all been against undefeated teams. So it's hard to really justify saying that like they're a terrible team now when they've only gone against, you know, the best in the division.
Right. Yeah. It's fair to say.
Moving on though, we have some stuff to talk about. Honestly, you're gonna be surprised because I'm actually gonna bring up a sport besides football right now professionally. The Oakland A's lost a series to the White Sox.
They're both terrible, so
They're both absolutely horrific.
the A's are just historically bad. They had that one stint where they were decent, and now they're just awful.
God-awful show. The White Sox were actually in contention for maybe breaking the record for the most losses in a row earlier this season until they surprisingly won a game right near the end of that stretch. Currently, they have one of the worst MLB records like I've seen in a long time.
And both of these teams, White Sox and A's, they're both terribly managed. Their managers are just awful. It just looks like they don't know what they're doing. They don't want to win. Same with the Giants. The Giants are extremely disappointing after that 2021 season where they were able to make the playoffs and ultimately lost to the Dodgers. But they have just fallen apart so fast, and it's really sad to see.
Absolutely. Moving on, we're going to talk about the real sport where everybody wants to talk about right now. The craziest week probably I've ever seen.
Upset after upset. My confidence pool is looking like absolute garbage. Just want to say that.
So does my sleeper picks pool. So, yeah, NFL, let's do this. We're going to start from that very first game. That was Bills versus Dolphins, right?
Yep.
Thursday night primetime game. Honestly, Bills absolutely killed the Dolphins, and we're going to touch on part of the reason why they dominated at the end, which was honestly unfortunate. But I think we should start with the positives. Honestly, James Cook was incredible.
Yeah.
And it was expected. I think it was expected because James Cook is a phenomenal player. And now that with Stephon Diggs gone, James Cook, I guess he's basically the focal point at this moment. He can catch, he can run, he's fast. He's got it, and I think he's a solid running back moving forward, and I think he's a solid weapon.
Yeah. I'm about to drop one of the most controversial opinions that I think I'll ever drop on this podcast. I don't like Josh Allen as a quarterback. I think he's overrated because of his turnovers. It's the same kind of issue that Jalen Hurts has, and for some reason everyone shines that Jalen Hurts is terrible because of his turnovers, yet they don't glance at Josh Allen's turnovers when they have nearly the same number of turnovers per season. In fact, I think Josh Allen has more, but
I think the difference is between Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts is that a lot of Jalen Hurts' success rides on how good his team is. And I'm not saying the Bills aren't good, but now they don't have Stephon Diggs.
And now they don't have Gabe Davis.
No more Gabe Davis. They have
no Tre'Davious White on the D.
No Tre'Davious White anymore.
And same with the safeties.
Josh Allen is putting this team on his back. He is putting this team on his back. I don't think Jalen Hurts could do that. I feel like he would get overwhelmed and he would just throw an errant pass. And I'm not saying Josh Allen doesn't do that, because he does. But I feel like he has that confidence and he has that ability to just throw your team on your back, and that's what you need in a quarterback like him. And another thing is that a lot of his touchdowns, they're not easy touchdowns. He'll throw it deep. And when he runs it in, it's not him getting pushed in by his center and his running back. It's him running that thing in from 10 or so yards out. So I feel like that's the main difference between the two players.
That's a completely valid point. I understand that point. It's just I feel like people that make the case that turnovers are the most important stat for, a down stat for a football player should also look at, Josh Allen's turnovers when they say that. And I feel like there's a lot of aspects. Personally, I think that Josh Allen definitely played way better, in the last year or so. Like, I'm not going to say that Jalen Hurts was a phenomenal quarterback last year. Let's be real. He really wasn't. He was like maybe top 15. That was about it. Josh Allen, he can be really good sometimes, and sometimes he just can't stop throwing interceptions. Like, I think it's mainly because it's part of the reasons that O-line, honestly. That O-line isn't incredible on the inside. It's great on the outside. But those tackles, Deion Dawkins, and can't really remember who the other one is, but I know that they're both pretty decent. But that middle of the O-line struggles, and that sometimes causes him to just, say, screw it, let's just throw it up. And, that doesn't go well for quarterbacks all the time, especially when you're not having one of those big, tall, physical receivers that can jump up and get it. Overall, that game was 31-10, I think. And
that scary Tua injury.
So, yeah, what are they going to do about the QB now? Because they got to make a decision after the season.
A lot of people are calling for him to call it and pretty much just retire.
There's a lot of call about that.
What is it, 4 or 5 concussions within the last 3 years?
I think that this is his 4th concussion last 3 years.
And they're not just any normal bang to the head. They are scary. He is losing consciousness and he is extending his arms. I don't know why that happens. I'm not
he's almost
that smart. But.
It's like he's almost getting paused in time, basically.
Yeah, and it is terrifying, but at the same time, he's a grown man. He can make his own decisions. It's not like he's in high school. I don't think the NFL should make him retire, and I feel like, contrary to what everyone else is saying, I feel like he can and should still play.
I think he can. I don't know about should. It's the about Steve Young, why he retired, right? It was a medical retirement because he got a lot of concussions. It's the same situation. Steve Young, he got hit in the head a lot, caused a lot of concussions. Tua clearly has an issue with concussions. He's gotten them quite a bit, and that is clearly not safe. Brain injuries are probably the worst kind of injury you can get because they're the ones that really aren't very reversible. You never know what could happen later in life if you keep on getting these concussions. I think he'll be okay in the short term. Who knows how he's going to respond in the long term?
Maybe an Antonio Brown situation.
Surely.
Chandler Jones. But I feel like they didn't get the severe concussions Tua did, and they're acting insane.
Knowing Tua, if he gets medically cleared, he's going out on every Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
The issue is, if he doesn't get medically cleared, is the NFL going to force him to retire?
Okay, I think if he doesn't get medically cleared, he has to call it, because if he's going to a neurosurgeon, right? And if the neurosurgeon's like, hey man, you can't play, you're gonna lose a lot of yourself, you're gonna lose maybe even functions in your body. I don't know how exactly it's. You can't play if you're really going to drastically change your life in the long term. But if you get medically cleared, I see no reason to why you shouldn't play.
We're gonna move forward in just a second, but all respect and prayers go to Tua and his family, and I really hope that he's able to figure out what he wants to do, especially on whether or not he's gonna retire. I think that he should do whatever is safe for him and his family. So all prayer goes out to him. Moving forward, though, we have a lot of Sunday games to cover, and we can't cover all of them. We do not have the time for that. We have about 10 minutes left, and so we're just going to cover the really big ones. I think we should start out, actually, with that Bears versus Texans game. I know that Stevie does not want to talk about that, but it really is an important game to cover, because that means that the Texans are now 2-0 in their division.
Is anybody really surprised?
Not really, but at the same time, we expected Caleb Williams to play so much better than he is right now.
Yeah, that is true.
I will say, though, sorry for cutting you off, Jan, but it was better than what I thought. I thought the Texans were going to put 30 on the board, but to put them under 20 is pretty good look on the Bears defense. But on the offensive side, it needs a lot of work. I think the O-line is just non-existent. I mean, the tackles on the edge, pretty good. They were doing a decent job, but that center and left guard and right guard just not even there. They just give up every pressure. It's like Caleb got 37 pressures and 7 sacks that entire game.
I don't understand why everyone expects rookie quarterbacks. Even, I get Caleb Williams was phenomenal and he's a generational talent. But even if, you look at Trevor Lawrence, he was a generational talent in Clemson, and now he's a game manager at this point. He's not going to change the game for you. He's not going to win football games for you. He's not going to be the reason you win. I think he's a game manager, and it's okay. He gets the job done.
On the contrary, there are rookies that come in and do have an immediate role.
Well, yeah, like C.J. Stroud, but that is extremely rare. I don't think that... how old is Caleb Williams? 21?
20.
He's 20.
Or 22.
22. He's 22. He's still a kid in terms of NFL terms. He's going to have growing pains. Bears fans need to calm down. This isn't the end of the world. He's not a bust. He's struggling. He will learn, and he will improve.
Here's the thing, though. Caleb Williams has not performed well at all in the last 2 weeks. Now, of course, that's not panic time. Now, this is a question for Stevie straight up. As a Bears fan, if this keeps on going on, when is it panic time?
I think that's a good question. I say you give until week 5, and if he keeps playing like this, not even getting a rushing or throwing touchdown, I'm going to start to panic a little. Just because you should, even with the O-line not existing, I think you should at least get 1 touchdown of any kind of rushing, throwing. But the Bears, I feel like before the deadline for trades, I think they gotta make a move on that guards and center. I know we acquired Shelton and we kept Davis, but dude, Davis is just getting confused guarding a safety and then laying Will Anderson and linebackers just get the Caleb, and it's just not a good look.
Bears need to game plan better too. They need to get Caleb Williams quick, easy throws. They did that in the beginning and then just lost it, and it was pretty abysmal to see.
All right, moving on. I think it's time that we talk about the upset of the week, which everybody is also upset about.
Bang, bang, Niner gang. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Bang, bang, Niner gang.
Dang, those Niners. What were you guys doing, honestly? Is it panic time as well?
No, it is far from panic time. We lost to the Vikings last year, and we made the Super Bowl. Yes, we lost, but we still made the Super Bowl. If you're panicking at week 2, I don't know what to tell you. I guess it's ridiculous. You cannot panic this early in the season. It's only week 2, 1-1. We have 15 more games to play. It is not even close to the end of the world. Brock Purdy he played okay, but the problem with his height is that a lot of balls get tipped, and he can't really see the entire field. He does a great job, but when you're 6'1", you're definitely at a disadvantage at the quarterback position. A lot of tipped balls. Taken back to last year against the Baltimore Ravens. Every interception he threw, all 4, they were all tipped at the line of scrimmage, and that's a really big problem with him.
Definitely one of the biggest things coming up too, which is why I honestly think that if the Rams start winning and you guys keep losing, then there's a potential that you guys make 7th seed or even miss playoffs, because you guys have CMC on IR officially. Debo is now an IR candidate, and you're struggling with, just like that, you lost 2 of your biggest playmakers, and then, you have issues with other players being injury prone. You don't know if this is last season coming back to bite you, because you guys were full of injury prone players last year and you just never got injured. You guys got extremely lucky with that, and that led you all the way to the Super Bowl. If you get even one more injury and someone I know that there's a scare with George Kittle during that game. Some people thought he was going to be out. He ended up coming back in. What happens? You genuinely could lose your next few games because you're missing such incredible players on your offense.
I don't think that... Well, the Rams are battered up. The team I'm really scared about is the Seahawks. their defense look top 5. Their secondary is really good. Their linebacker core, it's okay, it's serviceable, and their D-line's pretty decent. Their offense, Geno Smith is, again, surprising people. But I feel like if we get another injury, like if Ayuk goes down, or even if Kittle goes down, I feel like we're definitely in some trouble. But I don't think it's anything we can't muster ourselves out of, because we do got guys in the backup position that are ready to step up. And I'm not panicking at all about the 49ers season. But I am scared about the Cardinals too. They look better than ever. They just torched the Rams, albeit the Rams defense is kind of garbage.
All right, so finally, we're going to talk about my team, unfortunately, losing by 1 point against the Falcons. We're going to talk about a lot of things here, but we got a little bit of time, so we got to speed run through it. We watched Saquon drop a pass right at the end, which would have won the game. That was terrible, but we cannot blame the game on him. It was a terrible show by our coordinators, especially. For some stupid reason, we decided to run prevent defense with 2 minutes left on the clock and 3 timeouts. Nobody does that. You got to pass rush Kirk Cousins. That was a terrible decision.
Hey, great job to Darnell Mooney on the Falcons. He had 80 yards for like a long 50-yard touchdown receiving.
Is it bittersweet for you because he was, looked at as a possible number 1 guy on the Bears?
Yeah, but
The Bears.
The Bears.
But yeah, that was quite a situation. You watched the reffing, honestly, was kind of terrible again. They called a lot on the Eagles, but then they missed an obvious PI call, which honestly the other team should have gotten. But you know what? I guess I'm not complaining because I'm an Eagles fan. And then the other team, though, they never got called for any holding. If you watch, Jake Matthews was holding almost the entire game. But you know what? I think I'm just salty. I think we got to wrap this up now. Hope that everybody enjoyed the show today. And we're going to be back next week, probably next Thursday, for more takes and more sports news. This is Matt Bunton,
Jayden Foster,
Steve Pagano,
and Thomas Larson signing off.